And welcome to Hannity, and this is a Fox News alert. We have a big announcement about breaking news coming up later in the show. But first, the uproar over Harvey Weinstein. It continues to evolve every hour of every day as more and more Hollywood elites are being exposed as hypocrites responsible for covering up the deeds of a predator. Now, tonight, we're going to reveal just how close Weinstein was to the Clintons and how Democrats, Hollywood, and those in the press in this country all helped enable this predator. Now, you're going to hear from two women about just how bad the casting couch is in the entertainment industry tonight. And also, the NFL's national anthem controversy is not going away. Hillary Clinton tonight siding with the cop haters. And now the man who started it all, Colin Kaepernick, has filed a grievance against the NFL, claiming that the league colluded to keep him from playing. Really? Are his charges true? We investigate tonight. All of that in our big breaking news opening monologue. All right, the fallout continues for Harvey Weinstein. So after multiple accusations of sexual assault and harassment, Harvey Weinstein is now under criminal investigation both in the U.S. and the United Kingdom. Now, Weinstein could face serious charges that could put this mogul behind bars. We are told it could be up to 25 years. Now, Harvey Weinstein's own brother, Bob Weinstein, is now calling his sibling sick and depraved and telling the Hollywood Reporter, quote, "Well, I want him to get the justice that he deserves." That's his brother. And on Saturday morning, the Motion Picture Academy, they voted to boot the once revered director from its membership. Now, sadly, this is the same Motion Picture Academy that still recognizes and worships convicted pedophile Roman Polanski and people like Bill Cosby among its ranks. Are they going to clean it up altogether? Which brings us to the next point. The accusations surrounding Harvey Weinstein's behavior should come as no surprise. After Hollywood's casting couch culture of sexual abuse, it has been an open secret in Tinseltown, in the media for all too long by those seeking roles in the big screen. For example, actress Tracy Melchior, she's going to join us in a few minutes, talked about the commonality of this culture in Hollywood with Larry King. She was warning about this back in 2005. Take a look.
In case you hadn't heard, there's a lot of wealthy men in Hollywood who like attractive girls to be around, and sometimes they'll offer to pay for things for you.
Now, Tracy will tell her story, and it's tragic, later in the program, and what she experienced. And she is part of an ever-growing number of actresses and women calling out this despicable, disgusting, toxic culture. Actress Rose McGowan, who's accusing Harvey Weinstein of sexual assault, she tweeted Hollywood was, quote, a rape machine, and that she was blacklisted because she dared to tell the truth. Now, this culture also extends to the music industry. Kaya Jones, remember her? She's been on this show, former member of the Pussycat Dolls. She's speaking out, tweeting, quote, "My truth. I wasn't in a girl group. I was in a prostitution ring. Oh, and we happened to sing and be famous while everyone who owned us, they made money." Kaya will also join us later in the program. Now, sadly, not everyone is condemning the casting couch culture in Hollywood. And in fact, of all people, Woody Allen, you might remember, he's the actor who married his longtime girlfriend's daughter, the great moral barometer he is. He told the BBC, quote, "Tragic for poor women that were involved, sad for Harvey that his life is so messed up." Woody Allen had to later clarify those remarks after being called out, and then he condemned Weinstein. But what does he really believe? And then you have the mainstream media, NBC, others, who have helped cover up Weinstein's misdeeds for years. Let's not forget about Democrats, more than happy to take hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in political donations from this movie mogul for decades. And this, by the way, includes the DNC, which is now taking heat for not donating last cycle's Weinstein contributions to charity, but rather 3 political groups. They really want that money. No word if the DNC will return or donate all of the estimated $300,000 it received from the powerful producer over the years. And Hillary Clinton, she's up to her eyeballs in this. She's received tens of thousands of dollars from Weinstein, and last week she announced plans to donate that money to charity. But we learned over the weekend, the spokesman for the Clinton Foundation indicated the hundreds of thousands of dollars that Weinstein donated to the Clinton Foundation will not be returned. They spent it. And meanwhile, Hillary Clinton wants to lecture all of us about the misogyny epidemic in America. How out of touch can Hillary possibly be? Watch this.
Sexism and misogyny are endemic in our society, and I do try to take readers on a journey with me. There seems now to be a willingness by more and more women and girls to claim their rights in a very explicit way, not an apologetic way, not like, oh, you know, excuse me, let me express my opinion. But no, I have an opinion. I want to tell you what that opinion is.
She's the same woman that took millions and millions of dollars from countries that systematically abuse women and literally kill gays and lesbians and also literally, you know, go after Christians and Jews. She's trying to distract from the deeds long associated with Weinstein. Now she's trying to, her and her creepy husband. Watch this. Let's remember where we go here.
All I can tell you is that I did not hear those things. Look, we just elected a person who admitted sexual assault to the presidency. So there's a lot of other issues that are swirling around these kinds of behaviors that need to be addressed. And I think it's important that we stay focused and shine a bright spotlight and try to get people to understand how damaging this is. And the women coming forward is the only way that that story will be told.
Excuse me, Hillary, your husband was basically a groper in chief the entire time you've been married to him. And in case you forgot, here's a little refresher from those women that accused your own husband of sexual harassment, assault, and even rape. And you sat silently by and assisted in engaging in character assassination, smears, and slanders against those women who bravely spoke out. Take a look.
You described a scene where he was biting on your lip, and then when it was all over, he was leaving. Said, you better put some ice on that.
Yeah, and casually put on his sunglasses and walked out the door.
It was a terrible ordeal for me, and no woman should be subjected to it. But it was an assault.
He assaulted you?
Yes.
He touched, grabbed, fondled, and kissed you against your will?
Yes.
And it's an allegation that is not made by one woman, it's made by multiple women.
Many of us.
I said, well, I may need to be going or something. And next thing you know, he pulled down he sat down, pulled down his pants, his whole everything, and he was exposed. And I said, I'm not that kind of girl, and I need to be getting back to my desk.
And Hillary, you sat silent as your creepy husband went after and abused all of those women, and you assisted in the character assassination of all these women. And we all know, by the way, Harvey Weinstein helped finance the defense of your husband's shenanigans. Now, Weinstein literally bankrolled Clinton's defense team. Hillary, you had to know. Stop lying. We don't believe that you're a champion of women's rights. We'll get back to Hillary in just a minute. But let's talk about late-night host Jimmy Kimmel. Last week, Kimmel lashing out at his critics after they called him out for not shedding a tear, giving another emotional monologue about Harvey Weinstein's victims. And Kimmel said he was not the, quote, moral conscience of America. Well, this weekend, he doubled down on stupid. Let's watch Stupid.
You've heard there's one conservative commentator in particular who says, who made Jimmy Kimmel the moral arbiter?
I'm not. I mean, yeah, I agree with them. I'm nobody's moral arbiter. I mean, you don't have to watch the show. You don't have to listen to what I say. Like 3 years ago, I was equally liked by Republicans and Democrats, and then Republican numbers went way down, like 30% or whatever. And, you know, as a talk show host, that's not ideal, but I would do it again in a heartbeat.
So you don't mind if Republicans turn off your show? They're not watching anymore?
I don't say I don't mind. I mean, I love for everyone. I want everyone with a television to watch the show. But if they're so turned off by my opinion on health care and gun violence, then I don't know. I probably won't want to have a conversation with them anyway.
Good riddance?
Well, not good riddance, but riddance.
No, not good riddance, but riddance. Okay, bye-bye. Now, it's clear Kimmel is going down the same path as Stephen Colbert, wants to be a left-wing comedian only. But Kimmel's attacks didn't stop there. During an interview with the New York Times, Kimmel was asked if he thinks his critics are trying to influence what he talks about on his show. This is how Kimmel responded, quote, well, I think some of them are. I think some of them are just trying to get Fox News to hire them as on-air commentators. It's sad. You see people try to engage me and battle, that they're just trying to give their careers a boost. Well, I won't be a part of that, with a rare exception. All right, Jim, let's engage over you being a creepy old man trying to get 18-year-old young girls to guess what's in your pants and grab what's in your pants with two hands and ask them to kiss it. Jim, you look like a creepy old man. And we'll show that tape in a second. Now, meanwhile, this weekend marked the 6th week now of the NFL, and despite Roger Goodell calling for all players to stand, some did not. And reports, according to them, players from 4 teams didn't stand or come out of the tunnel for the national anthem. And the New Orleans Saints did something pretty despicable. According to a local paper, the announcer at the game asked for a moment of silence for a police officer that was killed on Friday. When the players kneeled, the fans didn't react well, and they started booing in the stadium. The New Orleans coach said today it was a misunderstanding. Also over the weekend, Hillary Clinton defended the NFL players who kneeled during the anthem. Watch her.
So you have to resist what are very clear, what we call dog whistles to that base. That's what the black athletes kneeling was about. That was not against our anthem or our flag. That was actually kneeling is a reverent position. It was to demonstrate in a peaceful way against racism and injustice in our criminal system.
Now, President Trump, he was asked about Hillary Clinton's remarks, and here's what he said.
I hope Hillary runs. Is she going to run? I hope. Hillary, please run again. When you take a knee, well, that's why she lost the election. I mean, honestly, it's that thinking. That is the reason she lost the election. When you go down and take a knee or any other way, you're sitting, essentially, for our great national anthem. You're disrespecting our flag, and you're disrespecting our country. If Hillary Clinton actually made the statement that, in a form, sitting down during the playing of our great national anthem is not disrespectful, then I fully understand why she didn't win. I think that her statement in itself is very disrespectful to our country.
The president's right. Americans fought, bled, and died for this country, fighting under that flag, and everyone should at least unite and stand for that, for the flag, for the national anthem, in reverence of those who did sacrifice for us. And what Hillary Clinton said is disrespectful to the country, and she's siding with cop haters. But unfortunately, this controversy is not going away anytime soon. The only thing leaving are the fans and also sponsors. The man who started all of this, former 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick, he filed a grievance against the NFL, saying NFL owners are blacklisting him. And guess what? Kaepernick is taking a page out of the left-wing playbook, and he's actually blaming President Trump. You can't make this up. Now, Kaepernick's attorney, Mark Garagos, I've known him for years, smart attorney. He released a statement on behalf of his client. It reads in part, quote, if the NFL, as well as all professional sports leagues, is to remain a meritocracy, then principled and peaceful political protest, which the owners themselves made great theater imitating weeks ago, should not be punished, and athletes should not be denied employment based on partisan political provocation by the executive branch of our government. This is beyond ridiculous. By the way, who is Colin Kaepernick to lecture us? Keep in mind, Kaepernick gave money to a charity that defends a cop killer. Kaepernick wore socks depicting cops as pigs. He openly supported a communist, murdering thug dictator Fidel Castro. But somehow it's President Trump's fault that the NFL doesn't want any part of him? And also, while Kaepernick did have a great career early in his career, people saw his throwing regressing, his skills diminishing. Also, reports from some of his teammates, they thought he was selfish and arrogant. Remember, football is a team sport. But now Kaepernick wants to force all NFL teams or one NFL team to hire him. That's not how this world works. And I also want to put something into perspective here. While people are now demanding that Colin Kaepernick get a job, there are real American heroes that are going underreported. Guess what? According to the FBI, new numbers in 2016 alone, 118 law enforcement officers died in the line of duty protecting all of us, and over 57,000 were assaulted protecting us. Those are the people that should be honored while the national anthem is being played along with our brave troops. Joining us now with reaction, he was a member of the Trump transition team. The Reverend Darrell Scott is with us, and also civil rights attorney Darrell Parks. Reverend Scott, let me start with you and get your general reaction. For all of her life, Hillary Clinton, all of her life, has enabled her husband, who had severe problems with women, even accused of rape. and she was part of an effort to smear, slander, besmirch. We're going to get lectured by her on this issue, and she's not even given the money back that the Clinton Foundation had?
Well, you know, Hillary Clinton, she's always tried to embrace victimization. I mean, she's on her victimization tour right now. The only victims she doesn't side with are the victims of her husband's impropriety. But, you know, she refrained from commenting on Harvey Weinstein for so many days because she just didn't know what to say, because she was aware of what he was doing. And then every one of them, her and the rest of Hollywood, out of fear of reprisal, until he got fired, they would not reply. Once he was fired, they felt the coast was clear, and they all have the same lame excuse. Oh, I was so shocked that I didn't know what to say. Well, you know, that's garbage. But
she helped enable their smearing. Darryl Parks, let me go to you. If a country that tells women how to dress, won't let them drive, won't let them vote, where marital rape is not a crime, domestic abuse is not a crime, women can't travel or leave the house without a man's permission, gays and lesbians are killed as a matter of law in many of these countries, and Christians and Jews are persecuted. My question, Darryl Parks, would you take a penny from countries that abuse human rights like that?
Well, Sean, I think we have to always be concerned about any country.
Come, you got to answer.
I don't think it's a yes or no question.
It is.
I think you got to always be mindful of what people do in their country. I'd be very concerned.
Would you take money from? Wait a minute. Would you take money from the best charity you work for? I know, for example, Pastor Scott has a great charity in Cleveland that I want to support his charity. Okay. Would you take money from a country that abuses women, kills gays and lesbians, and persecutes Christians and Jews? Do you want that dirty, filthy money? I don't.
You shouldn't want it. I think you got to always question anybody who has those type of things going on. I think you have to be concerned about it. Very concerned about taking that type of money.
But would you take it? Not be concerned. Would you take the millions from those countries? They're offering it to you.
Oh, you probably wouldn't.
You probably wouldn't. Hillary did, Pastor Scott. That's the point. Millions, and they bought her silence on the abuse of all these different groups that she claims she has a monopoly on.
Yes, and you know, Hillary, that's actually was supposed to be her platform, women's empowerment. So how can you take money from someone who is opposed to the platform that you profess to stand on? She's a fraud. She's been a fraud. She's always been a fraud.
Let me play a tape here.
Those are strong words.
Hillary's a fraud.
Let me play a tape.
Hillary's a fraud.
We got little Jimmy, crazy Uncle Jimmy Kimmel. I want to play this tape. Him doing a show asking girls as young as 18 to use their hands to figure out what's in his pants and to use their mouths. This is the same guy that feigns, you know, moral superiority and outrage over topics. He didn't have one joke about Weinstein. Let's roll the tape.
This game show is called Guess What's in My Pants. Now, I've stuffed something in my pants, and you're allowed to feel around on the outside of the pants. You have 10 seconds to then guess what is in my pants. You ready?
Set.
Go.
It looks fun.
You should use two hands. Two hands. You're going to make a fine wife. You've done this before, haven't you? All right.
Just right there?
Yeah? Just a few more seconds. How old are you?
18.
Okay, good. You sure of that? Because Uncle Jimmy doesn't need to do time. Maybe it would be easier if you put your mouth on it. You've got a nice technique there. You could get in the Olympics with this, let me tell you.
Is that Uncle Jimmy creepy?
How perverted is that? Who thought of that skit? That was like the most disgusting, perverted skit that you ever want to see in your life.
Yeah, but he's the great moral.
It certainly shouldn't be on television.
What's that? What's that?
And certainly that's not the type of thing we want to see on television, especially when you have young women watching. That's just not the type of television we want to see in our country.
All right, we got to run here. Pastor Scott, I am going to be at your church.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in Dallas on Sunday morning, and Robert Jeffress Church. They're going to be in your church 6 o'clock on Sunday night. I hear it's getting a lot of play up in Cleveland.
Oh yeah, it's getting a lot of play, and a lot of people are excited. I got a lot lot of friends coming. It's going to be a great time. God is going to move that night through Sean Hannity.
There's better options for God, I'm telling you. He can do better than little old Sean Hannity, trust me. We'll see you then. Look forward to it. And thank you both. When we come back, we have a big announcement about breaking news coming up tonight. Plus, just how bad is the casting couch problem in Hollywood for people that want to be in movies, on TV, in the music industry, and others? Two women who have experienced firsthand how awful it is. We'll share their stories with you next. Welcome back to Hannity. So in my opening monologue, I detailed the casting couch culture throughout Hollywood, the music business, the TV business. Now, in the case of Harvey Weinstein, we have yet another warning from over 10 years ago. Nobody paid attention. Here's what Courtney Love said about Weinstein back in 2005.
Hi, Comic Central. Do you have any advice for a young girl moving to Hollywood? I'll get lively with us. Harvey Weinstein invites you to a private party in 4 Seasons downtown.
Recording artist Kaya Jones is also calling out the music industry. Kaya, who used to be a member of the Pussycat Dolls, she tweeted this weekend, "My truth, I wasn't in a girl group. I was in a prostitution ring. Oh, and we happened to sing and be famous while everyone who owned us made the money." We reached out to the founder of the Pussycat Dolls, Robin Anton, and she denies what Kaya is saying. Here with reaction, recording artist Kaya Jones, actress Tracy Lindsay Melchior is with us. Kaya, how old were you when you first got into music?
I was 12 when I first got signed.
Wow. And how quickly did the predators begin to move in?
Well, I think that's the thing. They didn't move in right away for me. I didn't receive anything until I was 18 years old and I joined the Pussycat Dolls. So I think had I not had a career before that, where I knew that there are people with integrity, it wouldn't have probably been alarming, but it was super alarming because I had been in the business and never had any advances.
And when you say it's a prostitution ring, those are strong words. People want to understand this.
Oh, well, you know, when you have a den mother from hell that's controlling the girls, manipulating the mind, and verbally and mentally abusive, what's the difference between that and a pimp in order to control the narrative? That's what was done on a day-to-day basis by Miss Anton. And furthermore, you know, it was a constant thing of being, attacked at the back of cars and innuendos by different executives. She knew, and everyone in the group went through it.
In other words, you were attacked by those people that had all the power over you, and it was on a regular basis.
Yeah. And I had to decide for myself my moral compass. I walked away at 21 years old from a massive conglomerate that was launching us into orbit. How bad could it be for a 21-year-old to walk away from her dreams?
Yeah.
I knew I was standing on a limb.
Tracy, I know you spent years and you were on The Bold and the Beautiful and many of these successful daytime shows, and you had a horrific time. Why don't you tell us what happened?
Well, first off, I want to be clear, none of my experiences were with my producers during soaps. I had lovely producers there. It was prior to that. But the entertainment industry attracts a lot of women who are looking for validation and approval, and in my case, male attention that I didn't get at home from a father. And so you combine that with wealthy men who are in a position to advance your career. And I think one of the things that I think that's really important is that at that time, I think I had the false idol of fame and fortune. So I was willing to sacrifice and do whatever it took for that. And it's interesting how people can sense that or something, because I was put into so many situations, whereas my friends who maybe weren't as vulnerable seemed to, get around it. But for me, it was, I fell into situations that I was vulnerable to, for sure.
And you got raped.
I did. Not in Hollywood. That was prior, at 16. And I think that what happens is it doesn't just start when you get to Hollywood. I think a lot of it happens before we get there. It's almost like I was groomed prior to getting to Hollywood to be the perfect candidate for these producers and directors, which I did end up falling victim to, which I hate that word victim, but
you know, it seems like, and I'll ask both of you this. Tracy, we'll start with you. Young girls, and maybe before they're 18, around 18, they have dreams. They want to be in the music industry. They want to be on television. They want to be in the movie industry.
Yeah.
And how common is this? That basically they're told it's a quid pro quo. You want a movie role, you want to get in the band, you want a chance, you got to go through us first. Tracy.
For me, it was never that blatant.
Was it subtle and obvious, though?
Well, it was like you knew who could get you a job. You knew who this director was by name. You knew who this producer was. And if they're inviting you to dinner or to something, you're like, oh my gosh, this is great. Because you're thinking it is regarding your career.
And then you get to dinner, and what is happening in most cases at dinner? They reveal their true intentions?
Well, honestly, Sean, a lot of these dinners, I wasn't the only girl there. There were many. It was, you know, a flock. And it was just a selection process, I guess.
Wow.
And I think that you were actually flattered, or I was. I think it was like a compliment that you were chosen. And I was just so vulnerable for wanting that validation and approval.
You wrote a great book, by the way, Breaking the Perfect 10, about the 10 Commandments and getting your life back, which I thought was great. Kaya, how frequent do they play on the ambitions or the dreams of young people that you have seen in all the years you've been doing this?
Yeah, well, there are good people in this business too, Sean, but ultimately there are a lot of predators in this business. We've heard the stories from Corey Feldman. We've heard the stories from Corey Haim. We've heard, you know, Tom Petty has a song called Joe, talking about, you know, getting a young girl and a young boy and making money off of them and controlling them. It is a scary thing. This is what needs to happen, is women need to continue to speak out. Girls in my group, girls in other groups, or in entertainment period, need to speak out. Because you can take out the trash at that point.
Last question.
There are good people too.
Are the people that are creepy well known? Does everybody know?
Everybody, most know.
Most know.
It depends on the company. Most know, but it depends on the company. Not all companies are bad, but there are the select companies that have men that push things on young girls, and it's, you know, you're impressionable. You're a young woman.
And the political side of it is, you know, like the Clintons. You know, Hillary Clinton didn't say a word about her husband. Now she's lecturing us on all these issues. And she takes money from these countries that abuse women, abuse them, persecute Christians and Jews, and kill gays and lesbians. And then she sanctimoniously will lecture everybody else and accuse Mitt Romney of misogyny because he had literally resumes of women he wanted to hire. You know, slander him. Neither one of you deserve that. I'm glad you're speaking out, and hopefully this horrible practice stops. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
When we come back, President Trump has very sharp words for the NFL players disrespecting our flag, and later, a big announcement. Big breaking news coming up this week. We'll tell you about it coming up.
The NFL should have suspended some of these players for one game. Not fire them, suspended them for one game. And then if they did it again, it could have been 2 games and 3 games and then for the season. You wouldn't have people disrespecting our country right now. The people of our country are very angry at the NFL. All you have to do is look at their ratings and look at their stadiums. You see empty seats where you never saw them before. A lot of people are very angry at it. It is highly disrespectful. They shouldn't do it.
President's right. That was him earlier today, slamming NFL players who continue to kneel during our national anthem. Here with reaction, author of Liberalism, or How to Turn Good Men into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps, former NFL player, Super Bowl winner Burgess Owen, also with us, the spokesperson for the National Association of Police Athletic Activities League, as well as the CEO of the Brewer Group. Former NFL player Jack Brewer is with us, and also on the legal side of this, we have Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett is with us. Mr. Brewer, let me start with you. You are aware that in the NFL that there was a player on the 15th anniversary of 9/11/01 wanted to put the date on his cleats I don't think anybody on TV could see it. And 9 and 11:01, never forget. You do know that you can't twerk, and you do know that you can't shoot a fake bow and arrow in the end zone, and you can't taunt other players. So there are plenty of restrictions of free speech in the NFL. You understand that, right?
Of course I do, Sean.
You do.
But the of course. But the question in this situation to me, I think, goes a lot deeper than that. You know, we can continue to focus on these things, but we all know that the National Football League and its players aren't trying to disrespect the flag. You know, I'm with you. I would probably stand up with our flag as well, you know, honor our soldiers and all of our military, but it goes back to what are the actual solutions? You know, we keep having this debate, and we're not really identifying what the solutions are to these problems.
I'm willing to help out. I'll donate money to the right charity to help inner city kids. I already have in my life. I'm in.
Sean, I know you have, and you're a great man. You're a great man for that, and I love your approach to it. So I'm asking you. You have the ear of the president. Let's get these African American players like myself into the White House. Let's have these conversations.
You gotta respect. If we can't unite on the men that fought, bled, and died fighting under that flag, and not respect that, we can't get to square one. Burgess.
And the vast majority of NFL players agree.
I agree with Jack. We need to deal with solutions. And one of the biggest things we can do is identify what our problem is. We have a problem which we have a white Marxist organization that has indoctrinated our kids for the last 15 years with anti-white, anti-flag, anti-American. Everything you see on the sideline today has been flooded into our community, the liberal filth, for 15 years. It's called black entertainment television. It's not owned by black people. It's white people with a black facade, black employees, with a message that's anti-American. So you have all these kids that are growing up in this environment. They become millionaires. They're going to believe what they were taught to believe. So we're up against a very evil ideology, guys, and we understand that, and we pull these guys from behind their corporate boardrooms, have them stand in front of American people, and explain what they've done to us.
You know, in a way, didn't the NFL and sports in general really help unite us in this country? Isn't it like one area that transcends all race? And you know, I remember players after games, they get in a circle, both teams, even the refs sometimes, and they'd say a prayer together, which I thought was really cool. After you saw the best of the best, you know, most talented athletes fight it out on the field, and they got along. And the fans, everybody, there was no black and white. There was no black, white, Hispanic. There was just great players and fans that loved talented people.
You're describing the Judeo-Christian values that our country has been built on, and every generation became better and better. We were learning to look at each other from inside out, not outside in. What we're against in ideology is against our American way. So understand, there are people who love the fact that we're divided. We love the fact that our young people are growing up hating white people, hating our flag. They get their power from that. And we have a group of black elitists, relative black class people, who sit back and let it happen because they profit from this process. All right, Greg, this is a great conversation, guys. It's time we had it.
I think we could actually come up. I think in that sense, I think we can come up, and Jack he might be right on this. In the end, maybe we'll come up with some good solutions. Otherwise, the NFL is going to be over. People won't go anymore. This continues. Colin Kaepernick, Greg, is the guy. He supports a charity that supports a cop killer. Cops depicted as pigs on his socks. Supports a murdering thug dictator.
Right.
He got it started. Now he thinks and he owes him a position, and that it's a meritocracy. Mark Geragos, his lawyer, said, is it his diminished skills, or is it the politics that owners are rejecting?
He can't win his case because under the collective bargaining agreement upon which he's filed the grievance, he has to prove a conspiracy among team owners to prevent him from playing. It has to be verbal or written. He has no ability to prove that because he cannot compel witnesses or subpoena documents.
Well, they're trying to get the documents from everybody in the league. Do you just have a random ability to do that?
No, you do not. Absolutely not. And in fact, the collective bargaining agreement says the burden of proof is on Kaepernick, and simply showing that he is a qualified player and unsigned is not enough to prove conspiracy and collusion.
Do you think, Jack or Burgess, that this is a conspiracy against Colin Kaepernick? Jack, we'll start with you.
I think it's way deeper than that. I mean, I don't think you can say it's strictly a conspiracy. I think these business owners, I call them business owners because that's what they are. I think they're looking out for their bottom line at the end of the day, just like
is there anything wrong with that?
No, this is America. I'm a business owner myself.
I would argue Tim Tebow was maybe he experienced some discrimination because he used to take a knee to pray to God.
Yeah, no question. Sean? But at the end of the day, the man should be able to protest if he wants to. I mean, that's his right.
There is no First Amendment right to engage in free speech in the workplace. They're on the job, in uniform, on the field. They're at work. Supreme Court has repeatedly said you have no First Amendment protection in the workplace.
By the way, I have to negotiate what I can say and not say on this program.
Those are not the rules
during contract time. What's that? Burgess, you get the last word.
This is Free Enterprise 101. In order to get a job in America, in the meritocracy system, people have to like you, and then employees have to feel that you're a good return on investment. He's blown it in both fashions and forget the entitlement issue.
Anybody have good ideas?
Welcome.
I'm in. I'll donate money. We can help the murders in Chicago.
Set that meeting up, man. Set that meeting up. We need to have conversations. Set that meeting up.
This is the American way. This is what we do best. We win, we come together and support each other.
That's right.
And then we can play ball too. And honor our troops and our flag. Coming up next, the president. He's fulfilling his campaign promises, totally decimating, dismantling Obama's legacy. Sebastian Gorka, Austin Goolsbee, there next. Also, big breaking news coming this week. TikTok, straight ahead.
This is our war, and you all didn't start it. The establishment started it. But I will tell you one thing, you all are going to finish it. There's a time and season for everything. And right now, it's a season of war against a GOP establishment.
Steve Bannon over the weekend saying he's going to war with the GOP establishment. We saw it in Alabama. Today, President Trump said Bannon has a lot of good points, but he's going to try and work with Mitch McConnell in the interim. Here with reaction to all of this, the author of the best-selling book, Defeating Jihad, the Make America Great Again Coalition chief strategist and former deputy assistant to the president, Sebastian Gorka, and former Obama economic advisor, close friend of Hannity, Austin Goolsbee is with us. Austin, I know you're going to like a little of this, but your party has zero vision, and when there's no vision or insight, that people perish. So we've already perished under Obama. I want to say this. I'm with Steve Bannon in this sense. We can't lose control of the House and Senate. But if Mitch McConnell can't do his job, go. Get out. And let's not elect people that aren't bold and going to fight to get the job done. What they did on health care was a disgrace.
Just look at the last 9 months. What has the GOP establishment done for this president? On November the 8th, the people of America chose. They chose a person who was anti-establishment, who had a very clear message. Obamacare, national security, the economy, the border. What's happened? What has the GOP done? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
But there's something amazing that's happening on climate, on trade, on... Look what he did last week on health. What he did last week, the president, on his own on health care, was brilliant, and it's going to help every American. You form an association, then you have the benefit of corporations. It's buying power, buying across state lines, not subject to ACA or state rules.
It's stunning. After the speech that Steve and I gave...
by the way, your speech was great.
Thank you, Sean. I sat down with about half a dozen true Trump White House people afterwards, a block away from the White House. And I said to them, so who's giving the president advice on Obamacare, on the JCPOA? And they said, you know what? Nobody. He's getting the opposite advice, and what's he doing? Like a steam train. He's blasting through.
He's dismantling the entire Obama legacy, almost single-handedly. Now, Austin, I know you're probably happy. You think Republicans are fighting.
Get out more.
I got a question. I got a question for you. What is the Democratic vision for the country? What do they want to do for the country? Give us the top 5 items. Go.
Look, I think what they want to do, what they should want to do.
What are the top 5?
There's an argument within the Democratic Party. Number one, restore wage growth to working people in the country.
You mean like Obama did? Okay, 2.
Yeah, in the last 3 years of Obama, middle class wages going up.
Yeah, only 13 million more on food stamps, 8 million more in poverty. Keep going. What's number 2?
No, Sean, you're quoting numbers from 3 years ago.
I'm quoting numbers for the 8 years of Obama. God forbid I keep them accountable.
Maintain the expansion of health care.
Oh, grow Obamacare. It's not bad enough. All right, more Obamacare, too. What's number 3?
Can we get this guy to run for office? It would be great. It would be great for us.
I'm run from office.
What's number three?
My point is, with President Obama and with President Bush and with President Clinton, all three of them had major legislative accomplishments in their first year. Donald Trump has none.
Well,
he's got both houses
this.
of Congress, and he's fighting with his own party. It makes no sense.
But I actually think it's healthy. I'm going to tell you why. And Dr. Gorka, I think politicians are all governed by fear. I saw a very fearful Mitch McConnell today. And I think the reason Gorka got out is he knew he was going to get primaried, and I saw that's why he's now lashing out.
The winds of change. They're worried. This weekend, Steve's speech, my speech, we rattled their cage, and this is the right message to send. Because you know what,
John,
the left does what they do, and that's fine. That's okay. We expect the left to do that for ideological reasons. But when our side that says they have our values gets elected and then betrays us and does nothing in Capitol Hill, that's the bigger obstacle.
You know what? You know one truth, and I'll say this to Austin. Austin, I will give your party credit. You guys stick together through thick and thin, and there's not one person that wavers. Republicans aren't like that, so I concede. What are the other three? What are the other three big vision? Expanding Obamacare and fulfilling Obama's economic disaster.
How can we?
What's the other three?
How can you not dwell on the fact that the Republican governors have now come out and said what Donald Trump's proposing on health care would be catastrophic for their states? They're begging them, please don't do this.
Corporations have had this exemption since 1974 where they can buy, because they have offices in different cities, they're not subject to state rules or Obamacare rules. They can buy in bulk at lower prices, better plans across state lines with more competition, including cooperatives, health savings accounts.
Some bipartisan ideas. Don't just go light everything you can see on
like
fire.
The Democrats
Even Republicans are saying
name one Democrat that's going to support President Trump. You guys just oppose him because he breathes.
They won't support President Trump.
If he gave every American $1 million, you'd hate
it's not thought through. Even Republicans are saying this approach is deeply mistaken.
Swim, right? I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Come on.
If he walked on water, they'd say he can't swim. But he can't give us the 5 ideas because Obama failed spectacularly.
Can I just mention one thing? I went on Fox Business earlier today, and I said, look at the economy. We've just broken the last 28th record. The host had to say, no, we just broke the 46th record.
Well, you had to be Lou Dobbs.
No, it's actually
you just lost jobs for the first time in some 7 years.
47 records, historic records, and that's good for everybody. You don't have to have shares. Your 401k. If you've got a retirement plan, you're making money. We have increased by a quarter the wealth of the stock market.
By the way, you know, Austin, you were part of the foundational team that for the Obama economy. How is it he's the first president in American history to accumulate more debt than every other president before him combined, A, and B, never reach in 1 year,
that's not correct.
Never reached 1 year of his presidency 3% GDP growth and doubled the debt?
There is one significant break from the Obama legacy that I will admit, and that is in the time that Donald Trump has been in office, job creation has been about 20% lower than it was
1 million
last
jobs
year
in 8
under
months. What are you
President
talking
Obama
about? 1 million new jobs in 8 months.
I don't know that you...
Wake up. Where are you living? Chicago, that's why.
Just look at the numbers, Sean. We've added about 1.1 million jobs. We had added 1.4 million at this point.
The people on the outside, Steve, myself, the Make America Great Coalition, we are dismantling Obama's disastrous legacy brick by brick. Join us.
I'm in. McConnell, get on board or get out of the way. Up next, a big announcement. You're going to want to hear this straight ahead. So 2 years ago, I started working on a very special project. Why? Because Hollywood sucks and they don't make movies we want to see that inspire us. I am now the executive producer of it's actually an award-winning film we're very proud of. It's called Let There Be Light. It'll be in theaters in 11 days on October the 27th. A movie the whole family can enjoy. I think this movie will move you. And to find locations, it's on Hannity.com, theaters near you. Take a quick look.
Hello, Father.
Hello, Father? That's a little formal, isn't it?
She'll be down in a minute.
Okay.
You do realize that this is a school night. I expect her back here by 10 o'clock.
I see.
Sharp.
10 o'clock sharp.
Clear on that?
Crystal.
Good.
Good.
a life's journey that I hope will inspire you and your family. Hannity.com for theaters near you. Now, tomorrow night, this is the announcement, 9 Eastern. Circa News, Sarah Carter. The Hill's, John Solomon. Huge breaking news. Let me put it this way. If I'm Hillary or fake news, I won't be sleeping well tonight. See you back here tomorrow. Steve Hilton's next.